Which WoW Classic class do you think is the absolute best, and which one is truly the worst? Quickly, before we start, I just want to say that the opinions and choices that I make in this video are just mine. So if you have any other preferences of what you think of the classes, please let me know down in the comments, because some of these classes I am not truly experienced with. So if you could tell me how good they truly are at max level, please let me know. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. All right, so right here we have a tier list. We're going to be talking about each and every single class in WoW, talking about how much I like to play them, if they're fun, if they're good, and yeah, just go through every single one of them. So why don't we start with World of Warcraft's most classic class, the Warrior. So the Warrior is very strong. It is a class that is very weak in the early levels and becomes the strongest and most interesting class in the later levels. So in PvP, the Warrior is S tier, maybe S plus. We don't have it here. And also, but when it comes to PvE, Warrior does not have a get out of jail free card. What do I mean by this? For example, the rogue has vanished. Many classes have healing abilities and such on. The warrior only has a 5-second fear, I think it is, and it has a 5 or 3 minute cooldown. And that's the only really get out of jail free card you have. And because of the long cooldown, it doesn't always work out for you. So how fun is it? How fun is Warrior? Warrior is very fun when you get good gear. You're walking around, killing birds, killing spiders, bears, people, and you hit them with that execute, and you see the first 4-digit number, and around level 40, 1,100, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so much fun. It is truly a fun class. The charge, one of the most iconic and fun abilities as well. So if I'm going to rate the Warrior, I'm going to give it an 8. Very good in raiding, very good in dungeons, very good in PvP, but only decent when it comes to leveling. All right. So as Warrior is one of the only plate users, let's jump to the Paladin. Paladin can also use plate, but here's the thing. Paladin is very good when it comes to leveling. It is extremely strong, deals a butt ton of damage, but it's just a melee simulator. You just stand there hitting, not using a lot of abilities. But the thing that makes Paladin so good is its ability to heal himself and his ability to shield, making him immune to all kinds of damage. So for PvP, Paladin at later levels are extremely scary. They can deal 3,000 damage in mere seconds, while in PvE leveling, they're kind of boring. You just stand there hitting the enemy until they're dead and then heal up after. But in dungeons and raids, healing and doing damage, I can see being fun. So I'm going to put Paladin in a C category. And you may be wondering, why did I put Warrior in A and Paladin in C when they basically have the same downside? Warrior is hard at and bad at leveling. The Paladin is boring at leveling. And keep in mind, the leveling journey in WoW Classic is extremely long. And being a boring character just standing there and hitting the mobs, I don't find that much fun. So I'm going to put it in C tier. They're a very strong class, but not the most fun. Right. Let's move on to the Rogue. The Rogue is not so tanky. It is a extremely agile and scary class because of their stuns, their damage doing, and just poisons, and everything's just scary. They can also go invisible, use their distraction to make you walk off cliffs, which is quite annoying when you're trying to get to the boat in Booty Bay and you just get distracted into the water, and then you just see the boat leaving when you're 10 meters away. So the Rogue is super fun. It's an advanced class. That's the thing. It's a very advanced class. You have to know what you're doing in order to make the rogue good. It's very, very good at PvP. Being able to stun lock, being able to do massive damage with both ambush, backstab, eviscerate, even hemorrhage deals a lot of damage if you combine it with bleeds, like Garrot and Rupture. So one of the most fun characters once it comes to PvP. PvE, dungeons, and raids. In raids, rogues are usually like almost always at the top of the leaderboard. And if you have played DPS in raids before, you know that when being at the top of the leaderboard, you're having a good time. You're going to have a good time. Leveling is also very, very fun. You hit so fast, deal a lot of damage, and if you get into a sticky situation, accidentally pulling 5 mirror locks on a beach, for example, in Element Forest, Westfall, wherever you are, if you're high enough level, you can just vanish out of there. Sprint out of there if you have the improved sprint, gets you out of any, like, immobilizing freaking abilities like Frost Nova, for example. And when you get vanished, it's just a whole nother situation. And whenever you're out in an open world meeting PvP, you just go stealth and go from there. You always get the opener if you get into stealth and they're not too high of a level. I'ma just be totally honest and put the lovely, lovely rogue an S tier. Let's just go for Shaman, another melee. So Shaman, what is a downside of Shaman in WoW Classic is that it's only accessible to the Horde. You can play caster, you can play healer, you can play melee damage. It's an extremely fun character. And when you unlock the totems, the stone totem, the fire totem, air totem, water totem, it's just a super, super fun class. Like, the Wind Fury totem in dungeons, super fun. You just see your friends engulfed in smoke, dealing massive damage. When you get engulfed in smoke, if you have Wind Fury weapon on, you hit 3 times on a single melee attack is just incredible. But you do get it at a late level of level 30. And they're very strong healer class. And since they're able to wear mail at level 40, they also are quite tanky in both PvP and PvE. In early levels, they can even tank dungeons. If I was going to put Shaman somewhere, in raids and in raids, the bad thing is most Shaman in raids are just healers. If you're able to get into a raid as a Shaman, as DPS, I would count you as a lucky player. But it is super fun. Healing, I loved healing on my Shaman, which is like around level 50 at the moment. Super, super fun. Kinda, when it comes to melee enhancement, the melee Shaman is close to the Paladin. You just stand there hitting the enemy, not doing a lot of abilities. But the Wind Fury makes it a lot more fun. So if I'm going to place the Shaman somewhere, I'm gonna put it low A tier. Why not B tier? Because in PvP, it's also very, very fun, but it's not as fun as a warrior, for example. All right, let's get into the mage. The mage is a good mage is very, very good, very, very strong. But a weak mage and a bad mage is so freaking terrible. Like, if you have a bad mage in your dungeon group, it's like a misery. But if you have a good mage, it's like heaven. In raiding, not a lot to do in raiding except using Blizzard and Frost and Fireballs, depending on which raid you're in. So for raiding, I would put a mage in C tier. But in PvE dungeons, she is quite fun since there, if you play smart, maybe you pull threat, you have to play smart, Frost Nova, blink back, use your AoE, and it gets fun. So there I would put her to B, if not low A tier together with Shaman. But in PvP, there's so much fun. There gotta be one of the most fun classes for PvP. Straight into S tier, top S tier, basically. But also, we gotta talk about how strong they are. Mage in both PvE, PvP, dungeons and raids, and leveling, that is exceptionally strong. And with the ability to make and conjure food and water, gets even better. So if I was going to play Mage and place a Mage somewhere here, kind of hard decision. I would put it next to the Warrior. Is a lot more strong than the Shaman and a lot more fun. But the Shaman is also very fun. And Shaman is also more versatile, being able to play tank at early levels and damage and heal in high levels, while Mage can only do damage. Let's go for the Warlock next. Warlock is a interesting class, not to say the least. So when you first get your pet, it is super fun. It feels like an achievement. You gain your imp first and like level 3 or 4. You can even get it at level 1 if you're good enough, but the quest can be hard depending on where you are. But they're a freaking strong class. The dots, immaculate for both PvE and PvP. I've heard that you're not able to use pretty every single dot when it comes to raiding. Only corruption for the nightfall proc. In dungeons, the dots are incredibly strong. AoEing is incredibly strong. Not as good as Mage, but still good. But in PvP, whoo, if you go into the destruction tree with Shadow Burn, Confligate, I don't know what's Confamigate, the freaking 40 ability at the bottom, which you insta proc a what's it called? Immolate. So much fun, so much damage, and if you combine it with the crit chance into Scorch, it's freaking so much fun. But when it comes to leveling, super boring. So boring. You send in your Voidwalker pet, wait for him to hit like twice to get the threat, and then you put on dots, just wand or use Drain Life. It is so boring. Dungeons, I find it kind of fun. Raiding, I find it fun. So I'm gonna put it into B tier. And then we have the Priest. The Priest has to be the absolute best healer class when it comes to doing dungeons. When I'm finding a dungeon group and I get invited to a group or make a group myself and I get a priest healer, it's so much like heaven. I get so happy. So for healing in dungeons, S tier, top S tier. When it comes to leveling, I've heard people, it's just shield, dots, and then wand, and not a lot else. And for me, that doesn't sound so fun, so I would put that in like low C, if not D tier. Kind of like the Paladin. When it comes to doing raids, you heal in raids. You're a good healer in raids. Very good healer. So there I would put her A S tier for healing in raids as well. And PvP. Shadow Priest in PvP is so much fun. So strong. Like Shadow Priest, you're able to mind control. For example, in Arathi Basin, I think, you can mind control people and just walk them off the cliff there. Super fun. You're very tanky with Mind Flay and the dots, which heals you when you deal shadow damage. And it's just a pretty strong and fun character. So I'm gonna put the priest in oh, this one's hard. So for the leveling, if it wasn't for the leveling aspect, I would put priest in S tier. Because of the leveling being so boring and leveling such a big part of the game, it brings the class down. So I'm gonna put him high B tier over the Warlock. Because the priest is basically, the Shadow Priest is basically a Warlock without the pet. But since you're a priest, you're also able to heal in dungeons and raids, making it a lot more fun. So I'm gonna put him in B tier. So now we got the tamer of the animals and the animal. let's start with the hunter, the tamer of the animal. And let's start by talking about how much fun they are. A hunter is super fun in every single aspect of the game. Dungeons, raids, PvP, PvE, leveling, open world PvP. It's just so much fun. You have your pet, you send them in. You try to save your pet all the time if it's close to dying. You feel like you have a true connection to your pet. At least I've had that experience when playing hunter. For raiding, you aren't always that strong. I've been watching some videos on YouTube of raids, and I've never seen a hunter use his pet while raiding, which brings the fun aspect a little bit down, maybe to like A, high B, and how strong they are also is like B, mid, low A when it comes to raiding. Dungeons, PvE, they're pretty strong when it comes to doing damage. But there are so many times when a hunter fucks up the group by sending in their pet too long. This makes it a pretty difficult class to play. If you don't play correctly, you're going to get hate. You are going to get hate. Which brings the funness of the class a little bit down again. And, but in PvP, let's talk about PvP. Open world PvP, PvP battlegrounds. They're super fun, super strong. Being able to use aspect of the pact, aspect of the cheetah to just run fast, aspect of the hawk with hunter's mark to just deal massive damage. Super fun. With the pet also. Very strong against casters, by the way. So if I'm going to put hunter somewhere, I'm put it A class. Not over the mage. The mage is just exceptional in other kinds and aspects of the game. They're very close. Very close. Let's talk about Druid. Druid is a lot of fun. Being able to play tank pretty early on in the game by bear form. Dire bear form in level 40, I think it is. To be able to do damage with cat form, moonkin form. So you're basically a warrior, a rogue, and a mage, a caster in one class. It's freaking exceptionally fun. Whenever I see a druid up in the looking for a group tab on the anniversary realms, I always want to be in my group. And the thing is, some of these classes become boring once you level them up quite, because it takes a long time. So you might grow bored of the class. Paladin, for example, you just sit there swing. Same with the Shaman. But this one, if you're bored of being a melee, switch to being a caster. If you're bored of being damage in dungeons, switch to either tank or healer, because you can be both. It is the most versatile class this game has to offer. And that just means that I gotta plop it into S tier. Not over the rogue. And this is it. The finished the finished tier list. Rogues and druids being the top on the tier list. Warriors, mage, hunters, and shamans being close to the top, not at the top, but close. They have like one downside. The B class has some downsides, but they're still good. Not as fun as the others. And the Paladin C, I've never had so much fun with it. But that's it. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments if you guys have anything to talk about on my opinion, because I know this is a controversial topic. It changes between every single person and their experience with the classes. This is just my opinion. Keep that in mind. Also, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys had an amazing time. Please like, subscribe if you did enjoy this video. And I just want to say have a wonderful rest of your morning, night, and evening, day, whatever it is, wherever you are. And I'll see you guys in the weekend where I stream both on Saturday and Sunday at 8 p.m. Central European Time.